How we doing, Johnny?
Doing very well.
Doing very well.
Oh yeah.
Same here. We're a few cast members short.
Yes, we are.
I understand. Anthony. The Fightins are in town, but I'm understanding that Lauren's holding out.
Yeah, there's a contract issue.
There's a contract issue, and she's holding out. I'm not sure how we handle that. We've never had this type of situation before.
I know. I mean, the Lauren layups is on fire. It's breaking the internet, and she's trying to capitalize on it.
And she's holding out.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yes,
well, we'll.
So we have to march on our own.
We can do this.
Yes, we can.
We can do this, and if she interrupts, we'll welcome her back.
Yeah, if we get the deal done and everything, she signs the paperwork, we're good to go.
We'll get her another bag of popcorn.
Exactly.
Get her another bag of popcorn.
That's for sure.
All right. This Fan's View, Wednesday night. Not like we don't have anything to talk about, so let's get started. You want to bring us up to date on fantasy baseball?
Sure. It's going well again as always. Joe Tomczak's got a little bit of a stranglehold on it right at the moment. He's third week in a row that he's on top of the leaderboard, but as you can see, the rest of that leaderboard's changed a lot. Scotty Black's up there as well. Kyle had a big week this week, moved up. Bill Mattis had a big week. He jumped up from about 12th to 13th up to 5th there, it looks like. So, yeah, it's been a lot of changes. And then if you look down there on the end of the board there, Carl, you made the pages this week.
Look at that.
So you're jumped up there. So,
Look at that.
Yeah, it's been going well. And, like I said, it's a close race, with everybody. So it's changing, fluidly. And it's going well. And everybody's making their changes and keeping up with everything. So
how's Mama O'Brien handling things?
She's not handling things at all.
Okay.
Yeah, she's struggling.
Okay.
Struggling.
Does she need to make a trade, or does she? What's going on?
I don't know. I think there's a little bit of rumblings over there at the O'Brien household over there with her and my dad.
Uh-oh.
Oh yeah, there was some. My mom. There was a little bit of a overthrow there, I guess, and my mom was going to go with Trey Turner, who's been hot as hell since she was going to pick him, and she went with Francisco Lindor instead with somebody else's help, and it's not her. It's not helping her right at the moment.
She went with some bad information, huh?
I guess, and wow. I guess Trey Turner heard her talking about it, and he's been on fire since she dumped him.
He's been playing well.
He has.
He's been playing well. Before we dig into our baseball talk, I gotta send out attaboys to the Florida Panthers. What a job well done. 2 years in a row, Stanley Cup. That's a hell of a squad down there. They're a well-oiled machine. I watched that game last night, as I've watched many of them. But I don't think the Oilers had a chance all night long.
No.
I just with Brazgalov, being red hot in goal, the rest of the team was just on fire. And what was the cat's name? He had four goals. I know two of them were empty netters, but they just play so fast. It's
and they take advantage of all the mistakes that you make.
Yeah, well, I mean, they create a lot of them. So
they do.
They create a lot of them, and just a very good hockey team. And boy, if you were building a hockey team, man, you might want to take a page out of the Panthers book, because they seem to be the team right now.
Yes. Oh yeah. No, they definitely were a step ahead.
Yeah.
And Montreal, Edmonton's got a good team themselves. So.
Did I say Brizgalov, Tom? You know what I meant. I meant Bobrovsky. You know what I meant.
I had it on his mind.
Yeah, telling me about they're still paying Brizgalov's contract.
Yeah, Flyers still paying him for another 2 more years. So.
Suck ass, Brizgalov.
Yeah. Flyers paying him for 2 more years and didn't win a cup. And
but you know what? We weren't the only dumb shits. The Flyers traded them to the Blue Jackets. The Blue Jackets ended up trading them to Florida. You know what I mean? So, I mean, you just got some bad general managers making some bad deals.
Yeah.
True. But they jumped on top of it, and it's good for him. Good for him. Happy for him. They broke the cup though. Did you see that? They destroyed the cup. They didn't even get through the night, and they broke the cup.
Yeah. I guess it's okay when you go back to back.
I guess. Yeah. But kudos to the Florida Panthers. The NHL season is it's not officially over because we got the draft next Friday night.
Hey, how crazy is that? The season's just finishing up, and then 10 days later you got the draft.
You got the draft. Yep.
And there's basketball's the same way.
Yeah, and there's talk that the Flyers may trade their pick. They may trade down. You work so hard to get a top pick, and then you're going to trade out when you need players.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure I understand that move.
Well, they don't have enough draft picks. They got accumulate.
I thought they had a ton of draft picks.
There's only 13 of them.
My gosh. Yeah. What's the magic in Florida? I don't know. Good players, good system.
Good goalie.
Yeah, phenomenal. The goalie, it's true because, a lot of these goalies don't come into their own till later on in life. They bounce around. And I think a lot of the Oilers' problem was goaltending because they couldn't stop the puck. There was even last night, there were a couple of really bad giveaways, and the goalie, should have been on top of things, and he wasn't.
Yeah, that second goal that they scored right before the end of the period. That was the kiss of death right there.
Yep. But still talking about hockey, the Flyers will do their draft selections from the Hard Rock Cafe down in Atlantic City. They've got a big night. They got a big night planned next Friday night. Tickets are still available, apparently, from what I read. You can go down there, and it's a day early for me because I go down the following day for vacation.
Right.
So, I wish I could go. That'd be a great way to start vacation, but I don't go down till Saturday. So I guess I could go Friday and sleep in my car, right?
There you go. There you go.
So Friday night should be a lot of fun down there. I understand there's going to be some Flyers alumni in the house. That's always fun. I think their new coach, Rick Tockett's going to be in the house.
Mark Recchi was another.
Who's that?
Mark Recchi.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sure that the names will pop up on social media as to who all's going to be down there.
Right.
So, well, good luck to those boys. Although we'll have another show between now and then. We're back at it every Wednesday night. So things are going well this summer. But let's.
What do you think is the reason that they went to Atlantic City?
That's a very good question. I don't know.
You got the live casino right across the street.
I don't know. I don't know, maybe trying, just trying to work the, the New Jersey nightlife and,
Yeah.
pump some money into the economy down there. Maybe somebody has a connection with the Hard Rock Cafe down in Atlantic City.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah. So moving right along, and we can certainly come back to Flyers talk, to hockey talk, but the NBA is one game away from being over, and that season coming to an end. I would have never in my wildest dreams, OKC and the Pacers in the finals.
Yeah.
Yeah,
man, gotta be loving it.
That's a replay from last night. Yeah. Get me all excited. Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know.
See how things go with Tyrese Halliburton being with the calf strain, how effective he'll be.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting to see because he's a big part of that team. And once he went down last game, you can see it was a totally different game, and Oklahoma took over.
What is what was I going to say? The game is in Indiana, so they have home court.
Right.
So the series is 3-2, so they need to win. The Pacers need to win to go 3-3. But did you see the Lakers were just sold?
Yes, I saw that right before we got on today.
$10 billion.
Billion with the B.
Billion.
Yes.
Billion.
To the guy that owns the Dodgers.
I knew that name.
Yeah, what's it? Mark Walters. Yeah, he owns them. He owns
wow.
Couple different teams.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Would he like to buy a card store in Havertown? I'll take one of them. Yeah. What was I reading? That the Bus family bought them back in the, what was it, the 90s for $47 million.
Yeah.
And wow. Credit Shaq, credit Kobe, credit, all them old Lakers, Magic,
Magic,
all
Magic
them
with the Dodgers as well.
All them old Lakers, right?
Yeah.
All them Lakers. Well, I wanted to talk Lauren's layups because it caught a crap ton of fire, after last week's show.
Yes,
it was. Is she joining us?
No, she's not joining us. I'll give her a plug.
You're giving her a plug?
Hopefully it'll help with the contract negotiations.
But yeah, the whole Jordan LeBron thing last week turned into some real fun with the Mount Rushmore, for basketball. But I'm gonna throw this out there, and it's not gonna have the impact that it has when she does it. But I'd like to throw out the Mount Rushmore of 76ers over the years. So if anybody's got any input into Sixer basketball, because we're talking NBA, we're talking the draft. The Sixers have the 3rd overall pick. So what are people's thoughts on the Mount Rushmore of what the 76ers Mount Rushmore would look like? So
I would have to say
there's some interesting names there.
Yeah, you'd have to go with Wilt, Dr. J, Iverson, and Barkley probably. Hal Greer's got to be in there as well. So you got to get 4 guys. But yeah, it's a good question.
Yeah, there's a lot of good names. There's a lot of good names. I mean, you got Iverson, you got Dr. J, you got Barkley,
Yep.
you got Wilt. How about Jerry Stackhouse? Does he? I mean, does he?
I mean, he's a good name. Yeah. I mean, with the rest of the guys, I don't know that you can, for the Mount Rushmore, but
yeah.
I mean, he's definitely up there. Moses is another one. Yeah. Tom's there. Doc Wilt, Al Greer. Yeah, I mean, he has Al Greer over Allen Iverson.
I guess the Sixers don't win the championship without Moses, just like the Phillies don't win without Pete Rose.
Right.
So that's a good point by Steve, our buddy Steve Swoop down there in Colonial Beach.
Yeah, I mean, and then you can also, by going with that, Billy Cunningham is another one that you can have in the mix. But I mean, I mean, there's a lot, and it's strange. We've got about 7 or 8 names already listed and no Embiid.
No Embiid.
Not even
not even an honorable mention from either one of us.
No. Yeah, I mean that's a good one for sure.
So we can bounce all over the board tonight because we can. We don't have anybody to monitor or critique us.
Yeah, well, I mean, in case the Lauren layups don't work, we'll have the Carl's comments.
There you go.
The new segment.
There you go.
We'll have something working there.
I just got to get with the graphic designer and get some graphics. That's all.
Exactly. Yep.
Because if she's holding out, we're gonna have to come up with something.
Exactly.
But
so as your first performance, you did an A1 job right there.
No, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm just trying to fill the void. You know what I mean? And keep this show on the rails and keep talking positive and staying within the parameters of Philly sports.
Exactly.
So, but yeah. The Flyers with the 3rd or 6th overall pick, is he?
6th or 7th, something like that. But yeah.
And then they've also got another one late in the first round. So they've got a crap ton of draft picks. The Sixers have the 3rd overall pick, and I saw where what did I see? Ace Bailey's coming into town tomorrow.
I didn't like what I heard from him this week.
Oh, no?
No, he's been turning down picks, and he wants to go to a team that can make him an instant star. So
make him a star?
Yeah.
Well, don't you make yourself a star?
Well, that's what you would think, right? But he wants to be.
Frank Shannon Jr. Dropped on me that the other day when he was in the store that Ace Bailey does not fit into the Sixers team right now the way it's set up.
Not at all.
Who's the kid? Edgecombe.
Is that the Oregon kid that they were?
Is that You know what? I haven't done my homework on the draft pick dudes.
Yeah, we're talking about an Oregon guard.
You would certainly think with the 3rd overall pick, you would get, a pretty awesome player, that could be an impact player on your team right away.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, with the Sixers' luck, there's a 2-man draft. And then everybody else is kind of in the mix. Not that you can't get a good player. They're all kind of similar guys depending on your fits and stuff. But I just don't like the way he's coming in. Not taking requests for teams that want to have him in for an audition. It's just not a And plus in Rutgers he bagged it in when the team went bad. So
Well, you're sharing some things with me that I don't like to hear because I'm all about a team player. I love team players. I love, the camaraderie of a team.
Mm-hmm.
It's a team sport. And I just think, I know this is going to be hard to say, but can the Sixers get any worse than last year? I mean, can it be any worse than that?
You would hope not.
I mean, we haven't heard one medical update on Embiid.
No.
We haven't heard, I think Paul George had one podcast since the end of the season.
Yeah.
And he's been pretty quiet as well.
Well, it's exhausting being able to do a podcast on the off season, just like playing during the season. So, I mean, it's exhausting.
So, I don't know. I honestly don't know.
The Sixers are in a definite mess, and like Steve says, probably trade back is probably the best, to be able to get some extra picks and maybe in a way get Paul George and breaking news, the contract negotiations have worked. We got a deal done. Lauren's been locked up for 6 years now.
She got a 6-year deal?
She got a 6-year deal and 3 large bags of popcorn. So,
3 big bags of popcorn?
Yes.
And a 6-year contract? Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
And she gets to hold the mic every time at the live shows, every week.
Well, she had that already.
Well, but it's extended. It was only her microphone only. So
she's got the exclusivity on the handheld mic.
Exactly.
Wow.
She's not too happy in the backstage room, so they'll get her on before it gets too rough.
Her mother wants to know who her agent is. Hey, there she is. There she is. Welcome back.
I want to know more about this popcorn.
Welcome back.
Well, you got a lifetime supply of popcorn.
Well, you ran out of popcorn last week.
I did. I don't even have any tonight.
See?
Well, now you will. Now on, you're going to have a lifetime supply.
What? Why is my contract being extended? What did I miss?
Well, we thought you were holding out.
Because Lauren's lab went on fire. Was had the internet breaking. So
I see. Oh, I see. Okay. All right.
Yeah, your LeBron versus Jordan last week turned into a firestorm. Then on top of it, the Mount Rushmore, the goat after goat after goat talk. I mean, it just went on and on and on.
Right.
But you know what it was though. It's Carl's comments is what threatened her. She was scared. And so that's what got her the negotiations settled. And she's like, all right, let me sign the deal now.
Definitely. That's definitely what happened.
Yep. So the Carl's comments were the Mount Rushmore of Sixers players. All
right.
Time.
Yep.
You heard that?
Did I hear your comments?
No. Yeah. Did you hear the show earlier?
No. I just got here.
All right. You went grocery shopping. All things are good.
I did. I went grocery shopping and it took me a while to get on tonight. I don't know. My computer was just it wasn't interested.
Yeah, because they knew the negotiations were going on.
Got it.
So you can have a few minutes to think about it for your Mount Rushmore of Sixers.
Who's on mine?
Yeah. Exclude Kyle Korver, of course.
Yeah, I mean, mine's going to be silly. Mine's going to be guys that I like growing up. Mine's going to be like, Eric Snow.
I knew that name was going to surface. I knew it. I knew Eric Snow. I just knew it.
Yeah. I don't know. Because honestly, I mean, most of the guys that I see listed on here aren't guys I ever got to see play.
This is true.
So.
You'll pick Mutombo because of his coffee.
Yeah. Yeah, he made really good coffee, and I enjoyed that. And yeah, I think it's, I don't know.
The question we had was Embiid going to be on your list?
No, I don't think so. No. Did you think it would?
No, we didn't have him even mention it. He wasn't even an honorable mention after about 10 names. But
Right. No, I don't personally think that he would get included. AI would probably be on mine, even though last week we kind of talked about how he hadn't done a whole lot. But I'll also say that I don't know too much about guys that didn't necessarily. Okay, so do they had to have played for the Sixers or just in the league?
Sixers.
Oh, okay. All right.
Sixers.
I was gonna say. All right. Yeah, come back to me. I'll think about it.
Not a problem.
What else did I miss?
We talked. Well, we opened with our fantasy, and there was some movement on the board.
Okay.
Your dad made the list.
Well, yeah. We probably took 5 minutes and trashed you for every bit of it.
Trashed me?
Yeah, because 6:30. You know what I mean? 6:30.
Negotiations were going a little rough.
6:30. We start the show every Wednesday at 6:30.
That's not what your text said. Man, just throw me under the bus, back it up, and do it again.
Mm-hmm.
Even Joe Stinger's late to the show.
Yeah, look at that. Joe Stinger's late. You going to give him a hard time too?
Yeah, of course. Where you been?
I know, right? I mean,
Where you been?
Time every week.
Where you been? I gave him kudos today with his picture with Bob. At the signing back in the day.
Another one getting a big head.
Jeez, man.
Guess he was negotiating too.
It's this fan's view crew -2.
Uh-huh.
Emily was on time.
She has a newborn.
Oh gosh.
1 month old today, was it?
What's that?
I think the baby was 1 month old today, right?
Maybe like 2 days ago.
Oh, I just saw the post today.
Yeah, might have been a couple days ago.
Yeah.
What post was that?
Emily's with
That he's a month old.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
A month old.
Yeah, and the little tyke already made his first trip to Disney World.
Yep.
Well, that's no surprise there.
Did they take him on Space Mountain?
I do think there's some restrictions on that stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I didn't know. Henry's pretty wild, so who knows? He falls under the wild category, so who knows?
Henry doesn't like roller coasters, so.
Oh no?
No, I'm kidding.
So, Swoop is reporting that the Ravens only paid Jair Alexander $6 million. That probably would have fit in nicely in Philly's cap space. No?
Yeah, you would think.
But he thinks Howie's going after defensive end Hendrickson. Has he not reported to OTAs for the Bengals? The Bengals got a lot of problems, don't they?
They do. And yeah, that'd be nice. That'd be a nice person to get. I just don't see how they're going to be able to get. He wants big money, like big time money.
Yeah.
And
what's he got left? Does he got a couple years left?
I would think he's got a few years left. Yeah. I mean, he led the league last year in sacks, so it's not like he's a bad player. But who was it that just got paid on the defensive end, like $30 million?
Wasn't it somebody out in San Francisco, out in California, or something?
Something like that. Yeah, I'm trying to remember who it was offhand, but yeah, I mean there was, a big money going out there. So I don't know. I mean, it'd be nice to see. Maybe he's going to come down a little bit on his price, and we'll be able to make it work. But
so he can play for a real team and go to another Super Bowl.
You're right. Yeah, I mean they got $36 million. I understand that, but Howie likes to have some flexibility there, at least 10, 12 million under the cap.
He'll just renegotiate Lane Johnson again.
Right. Well, this is true.
Hasn't he renegotiated Barkley already once?
He did after 1 year.
Unbelievable. Yep. Unbelievable.
Yep.
All right. Before we jump ship and start talking Phillies baseball, I'm just curious. Did you buy anything good at the grocery store?
Ant traps.
Ant traps
Mm-hmm.
at the grocery store.
Well, at Walmart. That's where I went.
You got issues
Yeah.
with ants?
Yeah, bad.
With this rain. Well, with all this rain, they're coming in.
I think the landscaping all around this house has been like that for 10 years. So they've just made their homes in there.
Gotcha. You can't get Brandon to put some traps outside?
Well, he's going to be ripping all the landscaping out soon anyway. So
Okay.
I'm just trying to control it inside. I mean, it just seems to be like in pockets. So.
Gotcha.
Yep.
So
no.
went for ant traps and no food?
No, I went for other stuff, but that was the most off the wall thing that I don't normally buy.
Gotcha.
Yep.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
And is it? Are they playing baseball in Baseball Town? Has the skies cleared?
They are. I don't think the game was delayed at all, but they didn't start until 7 because that's their start times now.
Yeah. Tonight was another giveaway, 75th anniversary cup. No.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, it was.
Yes.
Yep. The game is going to start at 7:20.
Oh, okay. So they were in a little bit of a rain delay.
A little delayed. Yep.
Right.
It did. I mean, it rained pretty heavily here, so I'm sure the field took on a lot of water.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right. So hopefully next week we'll get Anthony back because the Fightins go on the road next week. Correct?
Yes, they do. Yep.
Just in time for that big 95 plus.
Joe Stinger is saying, I think he means baking soda.
Yeah, I've heard of a few.
Baking soda?
Yeah, I've heard of vinegar and water and stuff like that. So.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Yep. I have spray for outside the house. It's not my favorite thing to use because it's not really animal friendly, but I'm desperate.
Well, you got rid of that one varmint, right?
Well, it was a groundhog family.
Yeah, you got rid of them?
Yeah, I don't know what happened to them. Knock on wood, they haven't returned. So
Well, good.
I think they hopefully found another place to live.
All
right.
She had Bill Murray coming out and took care of it.
I think Stick wants to talk. I think Stick wants to talk Phillies baseball. He doesn't want Dombrowski trading any of the prospects. Well, you're going to go to war with John because John wants to get rid of all the prospects because he don't like any of them. So
no, it's not that I don't like any of them, but that's the you got to trade with something that's tradable, right?
Yep.
It was the same thing with Bowman stopped 3-4 years ago when I was talking about it.
All right, so the conversation for John and I has been with the Phillies, as to what they're going to do at the trade deadline, because they have to do something. It's apparent that they're not going to re-sign Ranger Suarez because he's going to want a lot of money, and you've already got an overabundance of starting pitching.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to let him walk at the end of the year and get nothing for him.
Right.
You got to move him at the deadline. You got to trade him. And by trading him, you might have to package one of your prospects to get, a decent arm, a decent closer, let's say. And there's a couple of names that are being floated out there. I know Baltimore has one. It's you got to be creative. Do the Phillies re-sign Schwarber? He's, are you going to let him walk at the end of the year and get nothing for him? These are big questions that need to be addressed because the trade deadline is a month away. What's the cap on that? July 31st?
31st, yeah.
You've already seen one major trade where, what's the guy's name out of Boston now with the Giants? Devers?
Yep. Rafael Devers.
Rafael Devers, I mean, I don't think they gave up a whole lot to get him, and he's a big time player. I mean, he's a 30 home run guy.
Yep.
Oh
yeah.
He may be a little bit of a head case, but I think the Giants and Buster Posey, who's the general manager there, is looking to win and win now.
Yep.
He sees an opportunity to be competitive with the Padres and the Dodgers. So
what did Alec Boehm and Nick Abel trade for Devers would have been nice?
It's going to come down to the old conversation, John. How does he fit in the locker room? Well, you know what I mean? You got a lot of personalities, and we haven't even, we're 36 minutes into the show, and we haven't even talked about our boy Nick Castellanos.
We haven't yet, but I mean, Alec Boehm is one of those guys too that's already, a guy that's in the locker room that's got it, is his own issues, and I think he's a little bit of a Debbie Downer, with his attitude with the players. It wears on him over a year, and.
But do you think that's more himself? Because do you really think the other guys really care? How he's acting.
Well, they do, because I mean, you saw Harper and Castellanos and Schwarber, last year during the playoff runs, going up to him and talking to him, and Rob Thompson talked to him as well, and before he even sat him, and he kept doing it, and then they ended up having to bench him in the playoffs. So yeah, I think that's an issue.
He's had these personal issues amongst himself. Going back to his days in Reading when he would wear a sweatshirt. Call my agent.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. He's always been a me guy, and I don't know. You either have to get a third baseman back, or you're going to be looking to put Otto Kemp over there as your new third baseman.
Well, Devers would have played third base in that trade situation.
Yeah,
and
I guess there's issues now. Boston, had issues with him at third base, and now the Giants do as well because they're using him as a designated hitter.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know, how that would have fit. Let's let bygones be bygones, because that trade's,
Oh, of course, yeah. But I mean, like Steve's saying, to trade Ranger, I'm sorry, you can't trade, proven pitching at this level, and you can't let them walk. You got to sign them. For us to rely on, we got Nick Abel coming and he'll take his spot, or Andrew Painter that will take his spot. Do we really know? And that's the thing the Phillies have to know. I'm not saying either way whether they're going to do it or not, but you got proven talent that's here that's done it in the major league level, and you this team's going to take a step backwards if those guys aren't as good.
Yeah, I just think this whole Ranger thing has been kind of been ugly for a while now, because they haven't been able to get a deal done with him.
Well, he was hurt. He had a couple injuries there himself.
Yeah, but you're still talking about a contract. You're talking about soft tissue injuries. It's not like he had Tommy. It's not like it's Tommy John. So they've had plenty of time to capitalize and get Ranger signed. And what happened? They signed Christopher Sanchez. They traded for Jesus Luzardo. They re-signed Nola. So they pretty much danced around this whole Ranger Suarez thing. So I
understand that. But just like you have now, you got injuries, right? You got Nola had injuries. Somebody's going to have injuries. With pitching, it happens. We've been lucky, so far that, everybody has stayed healthy in the starting rotation for the most part, So, I don't know. Who's the guys that are going to get you the most help, are your prospects, at the moment.
Well, I bounced this off you, I don't know, a week, 10 days ago, and I threw the name Zach Wheeler out. I threw that name out only because if you've got Abel and Painter coming, you re-sign Ranger, you've got Luzardo, you've got Sanchez, the haul that you would get for Zach Wheeler, and people are going to say, I've lost my mind. I'm nuts. I'm this, I'm that. But, you're
Have
talking,
you?
Excuse me.
Have you?
Have I lost my mind? No, because I'm looking at, saving $40 million and getting a haul back in return for Zach Wheeler. So, I just think that trade potential right there, just brings you big reward, big reward. And you got a lot of money to now play with for the second half of the season, for next season. Because what, 40 million this year, 50 million next year? Is that, do I have those numbers right?
And then he's going to be retiring after this contract's done in 27. So
I just look at, if you're looking to move somebody, he would be the guy, because his value right now is unbelievable. So, I would listen. If I was Dombrowski, I would be listening. So, hopefully he's listening. Hopefully he's listening to me.
Well, you'd have to get 4 or 5 pieces back, in return.
No doubt.
That's what you're talking about.
And then I don't know if I have the confidence for Dombrowski to oversee this, to see this trade. You know what I mean? I need to make sure, that there's several other, people in the organization that are on top of this, the Preston Mattingleys or the Sam Felds, or, all the other guys that are, checking these boxes. So I'm just throwing it out there. I'm just throwing possibility. To be honest with you, I don't want to see Schwarber leave Philadelphia. I think he means too much to the city. I think he means too much to the Phillies. He's probably, I don't know, all-star wise, who's going to go? Schwarber and Wheeler, as we said.
Yeah, everybody else is 3rd, 4th, and 5th spots,
right,
so far in voting. So, yeah,
I don't know if he has a no trade clause, Joe. I honestly do not know. I was just firing,
just throwing stuff out there.
What's that?
Just throwing stuff out there.
I'm just throwing it off my hip. Does Dom watch the podcast? I don't know. I think John has his number, so maybe I can steal it and send him a text.
We've been messaging back and forth.
So,
but yeah, it's like you said, you got to do something, right? Because
because I don't want to see, I like the core group, but we need to add to it, and by adding to it, you need to subtract from it. So somebody's got to go.
We've seen how the prospects have come through the system, it's a little bit different, but like how many, and this isn't just the Phillies issue, it's all through baseball. How many of the prospects actually stick with their team? Most of them are moved on, to another team for a trade and build on, unless you're like the Oakland Athletics and, teams that.
Well, I've been following the Detroit Tigers quite a bit, because I'm a huge A.J. Hinch fan. I thought the Phillies might have taken a swipe at him back when he was looking for a job.
Yeah.
Because he's at the top of the managerial list. And I look at what the Tigers have done. You know what I mean? And they've got a couple of really good young pitchers. They got a couple of position players. They're running away with it out there. They're doing a hell of a job. And they've built this team on prospects and draft picks. And, I think they've done a great job. I think Kansas City, is doing a great job with their prospects and young players. But like the Yankees, you like the Dodgers, you trade everybody away, then you got to, buy. You got to buy all these players to stay competitive.
No, true.
What pitcher is as good as Wheeler? I don't know. He's probably the top pitcher on this rotation, no doubt. I told you it was a silly, a silly trade proposal, but I'm just looking at what could bring you, the most reward for a player of that caliber.
Well, and that's what it's all about when you're trading. You can't just say, "Oh, I want to trade Johan Rojas and I'm getting, Mike Trout back or Aaron Judge back in return." I mean, that's just not happening.
Right.
To trade these players, to get players that are going to help this team, you got to give up some players, and that's why I talk about more of the prospects, because I want to try to at least keep this team, around as much, that are good. Like you said, Schwarber and Ranger, you got to pay them.
But we can talk about the outfield too, because it's got to be one of the worst outfields in all of baseball.
I still don't understand how the Phillies, the organization, and it's been multiple, people running the organization since Shane Victorino. I mean, how can you not get a outfielder, to come through the system? It's crazy. Pat Burrell, back, before him, but I mean, you can almost go back to the 70s and you can't even get a handful of guys on your hand that the Phillies have brought through the system.
Well, I mean, the best of the best was probably Gary Maddox and Shane Victorino, right?
Yeah, but Maddox was a trade, for the Giants.
At a pretty young age, right?
Right. Well, yeah, but I'm just saying, he wasn't even their system. I mean, Lazinski was the first guy, the guy.
Yeah, well, even Victorino was a Rule 5 guy, right?
I mean, we might be able to do that. Giving up 2 for 1 for Marsh and Rojas for Joe.
No, I can't do that. No.
I might be asking a little bit too much, but
yeah. They'd have to throw me in on that trade to make that, somewhat manageable.
But yeah, I don't know. It's you got to be able to do something, and if you subtract guys from this team, like a Schwarber or a Ranger, if we're going to do that, you're opening up more holes, and we have too many holes on this team as it is, for a thing, which kind of leads back to is it worth making a playoff run, type of thing? Are they going to be buyers or sellers? And it would be a bad day, and not that if you traded Schwarber, let's say, and you're kind of giving up on this year, if Harper's out, Nola's out for a little bit. If you trade Schwarber, doesn't mean he's not coming back next year. You can always bring him back.
Yeah, that don't happen very often, though.
It doesn't happen too often, but I mean, it could happen. It's not the ideal situation, right? But I mean, if it's you got to be able to do something with this team, because there's just way too many holes on this team, and it just needs to be fixed, because you're going to run into a lot of issues. What do you think, Lauren?
Is there anything you guys do like?
Anything we do like? Yeah.
Yeah.
We liked it that you only held out for a half hour, and
Just curious.
Well, I mean, Trey Turner's playing well. Rangers pitching well. And Schwarber's having a great year. You got Wheeler's pitching well.
How about your boy Bohm? Your boy Bohm's on fire.
Yeah, he is. Mr. Singles. He's on fire.
No, he's a little better than that. Come on. Give him his kudos. Give him his flowers.
He's had a couple of weeks of hitting home runs.
Give him his flowers.
He's still on pace for less than 15 home runs for a year. So,
well,
but I mean, no, I mean he's doing well, and if he could do like he's done in the stretch, if he's able to hit 325 for the year, he doesn't have to hit the home runs. That's okay. Hit well, but it's again. They're just waiting. There's a lot of holes in this team.
All right. Well, let's move on. Let's move on to the incident of 24 to 48 hours ago, and Nick Castellanos giving the manager a ton of lip. So,
does anyone know what was said yet?
No, but that seems to be on Michael Barkan's hit list to find out. what was said.
Got it.
Yeah, I don't think you're gonna ever find out about it because it's never going to be good, either
Right.
way. But
Right.
it's probably something to the lines there. He either said something about you're going to replace me for Rojas type of thing, or especially in front of his family. It kind of blew up because he's there in Miami at home, and he had a bunch of people there watching him.
No, I think it was more. I think it was more along the lines of you thought the cup was going back to Canada.
Well, that's or said something to the effect, calling him a couple of names.
Yeah, whatever it was, it wasn't very friendly, and because it would necessarily have to take something, to get Topper that fired up.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I have a feeling it was something about Rojas specifically.
Yeah, I'm sure it had something to do about
because I think if it was just at Thompson himself, I don't know that he would have gotten as sort of fired up, but I think maybe something at his teammate and maybe something, along the lines of just an inappropriate comment, I'm guessing, might have come out of his mouth. And, Rob made an example of him. And you know what? I don't hate it because I can't stand Nick Castellanos.
See, there is somebody on the team you don't like.
I can't stand him. I mean, he has such a smug look on his face all the time. He thinks he owns the place. And if there's anybody to trade, please let it be him.
In the right package, I'm on board to trade anybody. If it's going to get you back, somebody's got to play right field at that point because they put Kepler out there last night and he couldn't even handle a can of corn. He says,
got caught in the lights.
I know. He pointed up to the lights. He had that excuse all figured out.
Ready to go. Yep.
But like John said, they've got a lot of holes on this team. They can't figure out this outfield to save their life. And this isn't a problem that happened this year, last year, the year before. We've been fighting this for a while now. They got lucky with Schwarber. Let's be honest. Nobody in their right mind thought that Schwarber was going to come here and hit 150, 160 home runs,
right.
In a short amount of time. Nobody. He was a last minute signing, at the end of spring training to come to Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And they signed him to me for cheap, 4 years, $100 million. You know what I mean? So, they got great revenue out of that guy. And I just think, I think he deserves to stay in Philly. I think he's done a lot for this city. I don't think, that's the problem. But if it is, it's going to expand the whole team. And why not ask Mr. Harper to move back to right field where he belongs, so that you can do something at first base, a right-handed hitting power first baseman, something along those lines. Because there's a lot of holes in this team, and they're lucky to be where they're at. They really are. I mean, just a week ago, right out in Pittsburgh, they look like a bunch of, bums. Every one of them. They looked horrible. And then they come home and they win 5 of 6 games,
yeah.
And they look like they were back into it.
Playing against decent competition too. It wasn't like they were, for that.
I don't know. I certainly can't figure out this team. They make it, some nights a lot of fun, and other nights they make it, very unwatchable.
But that's the highs and lows of a long season.
It is. But you look, you just look around baseball, and you just see what some of these other top dog players are doing, and
who are you so envious of?
Ohtani with the Dodgers.
Okay,
Judge with the Yankees.
Mm-hmm.
When Mike Trout is healthy, he's probably one of the top players in the American League. When he's healthy, I know when he's healthy.
Yeah, but even so, I mean, to me personally, I think Mike Trout is completely overrated. What has the guy done?
Well, I mean,
What I
he's
mean,
got
what he's not on a good team for starters, but he's
right.
also never asked for a trade or ever tried to make himself be on a better team for a chance to win. So he's obviously just complacent with where he's at. But I mean, he doesn't move the needle for me. So other than Otani and Judge, who else are you so envious of that the
Oh,
Phillies aren't doing?
there's a lot of good young players in baseball. Bobby Witt Jr., Vladimir Guerrero Jr. I mean, there's a lot of good young players in baseball. The Devers kid that was just traded, I didn't realize he was a head case. I thought he was one of them, good old boys that just appreciated every dollar that was handed to him, and I didn't think he was going to give the Red Sox all the trouble that they got. But there's yeah. I mean,
You can look at the Detroit Tigers too, like where they were a couple years ago, and how well they had to rebuild that whole team.
Well, I mean, the Giants almost have done the same thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Since Buster Posey took over, and you're watching this new generation of young general managers that played the game, that were on the field, and now they're in their office.
Well, and then just to throw it back to you, Lauren, I mean, do you really expect them to have a long playoff run? The way that the team is constructed right now?
I don't know, because you never know what team you're going to get from night to night is the problem. I don't know. For me, it's not the players specifically. For me, it's just the lack of inconsistency or the presence of inconsistency. So one night they look like they could win it all, and then other nights it looks like it's their first time out there. So when you guys say there's all these holes, I mean, I sort of sit back and I don't really have much to add to it because I don't watch nearly as many games as you guys do. So I don't know the ins and outs of the team as much, but that is on paper, that's a pretty good team. I mean, they're stacked. So when you guys say that, I think half of my brain thinks you're just being ridiculous Phillies fans. And then the other half of my brain thinks, well, I don't actually know because I don't watch it as much. But I don't know that they're full of holes. I don't know that they're this terrible team that you guys make them out to be. Right. I mean, the most unpopular opinion on the panel tonight will probably be, what has Bryce Harper done in the 7 years he's been here?
Well, that's another subject. But just to go answer your follow-up question to you, you've seen this team. It's the same team now for 3 years.
Yeah.
You see what they've done the past 2 years. They were in the World Series, yes. And then
right.
and then lost out.
Right.
So
right.
What gives you the feeling that they're going to win the World Series?
Nothing right. gives me the feeling that they're going to win.
That's where we're at. That's the part that makes us frustrated is that they are good, and none of us are saying that they're not a good team. They just have a lot of holes.
But it's also June 18th, and this is that time of the year, part of the season when we start to nitpick all the things that start to happen. Injuries start to pop up. Guys get tired. Things like that happen. We're right in that stretch of time right now. And you'll see that through the All-Star break. But I don't know. I mean, I hear you guys all the time just talk about how there's holes and how bad this team is. I mean, I think there's people and teams way worse off. That's all I'm saying. That's the point I always try to make with this show and with you guys.
No, and then it's true, but the other teams that are worse aren't going for it. This team is going for it. And so
yeah, and I understand.
And they're not there though. That's the thing. It's easy to say for other teams like, oh yeah, they're not winning because they're not going. They don't even have a chance going into the season.
Right, but the Mets had the biggest payroll of any team last year in the league. What'd they do?
Well, they got what to the NLCS.
So I mean, the Mets are going for it too. The Braves are going for it too. The Braves are 15 games back.
Oh yeah.
So I just that's.
But they also have a lot of injuries right at the moment.
I sort of sit back because I don't really have anything to say because then it turns into this conversation where I think you guys are just being a little ridiculous, frankly. To trade Zach Wheeler is you'd light the city on fire if that happens.
Well, it would depend on what you got back. I mean, if
He's not trading them for nothing.
If you got back the right pieces and parts, I'd look like a genius. You know what I mean? Because like I said, you're capping $40-50 million, and you're probably going to get 4 or 5 players to fill a lot of these holes. And the holes that I'm talking about are the holes out in center field and left field, because you don't know from one night to the next who's playing.
Right.
You know,
but show me a team in baseball that has no holes. Show me a team in baseball that has all 9 positions accounted for. That from the top of the lineup to the bottom of the lineup, they are bulletproof.
With a $300 million payroll, I would have thought it would have been a little bit more spread out. You know what I mean? Your
team got old kind of quick, and I think that's catching up to a lot of guys. But no, I mean, it's the roller coaster of a season. So no, I don't have as much of a problem with the Phillies as you guys do, but I never do, frankly. So I'm probably the wrong person to ask. But I just let them, roll it out. I mean, Bryson Stott just hit a 3-run homer. So, you kind of just have to wait and see what happens is what I'm getting at.
4-0 Phillies, baby. Let's go.
There you go.
But they got a lot of holes. A lot of holes.
100. I knew you'd come.
So many holes.
I knew you'd come to our side.
So many holes. It's like a movie.
Well, no, but it is. Just look at, and I was looking at this the other day. I don't know why stupid stuff that pops into my head, but what's the difference between a 70-win team and a 95-win team?
Made for a more exciting season.
I mean, it's 4 extra wins a month.
Mm-hmm.
Is all that it is, And we're talking about a playoff team. Is like you're talking one extra win a month.
Right.
Is all that it's going to be between a playoff team and not a playoff team. So having these holes that are constantly giving you issues, we've lost 16 games already this year after leading in the 7th inning because of a bad bullpen.
Okay.
We've already lost 13 out of the 15 games. We've only scored 2 runs in 15 games this year or less.
Johnny, are you giving away your rant?
Some of it is a little bit.
I know it. I know it.
The bullpen part is, but you got 15 games that you played this year that you scored 2 runs or less, which is hurting as the lineup at that bottom of the order of the lineup. Which tonight, Bryson Stott hit a home run. That's great, but 13 out of the 30 losses that they had this year, they don't.
But that's the game. The game these days isn't small ball. The game these days is a swing for the fences, because that's what makes ESPN. That's what makes the highlight reel.
And that's what we don't have on this team. Bryson Stott's got 6 home runs. Like, yeah, he hit one today. It happens, but like it's not. But it's not there. Like, I mean, you look at Tommy Edmonds for the Dodgers, has got 12 home runs. The guy's like 5'3". I mean, we got guys on our team that should be doing better, and they're not. And that's the problem. It's just
all right.
Just one of those things. But like you said, every team has it, but we're not watching those other teams play. We're talking about Philadelphia sports teams right now.
I understand that. I just think sometimes you guys forget how good we have it.
No, we're spoiled. I'll be the first to admit it. We are spoiled. We are spoiled from the first day when Bryce Harper signed that $300 million contract. The expectations were taken to the 12th floor.
Right.
There was no turning back. We were aiming to win. The owner said
Bryce Harper is still sitting on the 12th floor. I mean, Bryce Harper is soon becoming Mike Trout. He's a good name in baseball, and I get it. He's got a lot of talent, but he's hurt all the time.
I have been waiting for this conversation. I have been waiting, because we threw out a lot of blame on a lot of different players. You know what I mean? But what year do we see the real Bryce Harper? I was going to ask John Middleton that the other day when I met him in Pittsburgh. I'm going to be like, what do we got to do to jumpstart this guy? You know, I mean, they coddle him like he's Babe Ruth.
He needs to go back to right field.
100%.
And help that outfield out. So if that's one of your
100%.
holes, go back to right field. That frees up some of the infield issues that you're having. And I think that changes just the scope of the outfield. The guys out there are immediately elevated to a higher level because he's now out there. But they won't do it. They won't force him to go out there because it's Bryce Harper. But, I mean, he's in his 7th season with the Phillies. Yeah, I know he's won an MVP, and I know we've gone to the playoffs and the World Series, and I get all that. But when push comes to shove, he's not there.
But you're also making another hole, so who's playing first base?
Well, you're gonna have
you guys
money.
tell me all the time anyone can play first base.
You're gonna have money, Johnny, because if you're not re-signing Schwarber, you know what I mean? And let me just throw this out to you. Is the team not better with Schwarber playing left field instead of designated hitting as the designated hitter?
For the long haul, no. I don't think
Well, you don't know because they haven't done it. You know what I mean? You know, we're assuming because he's old, you know, but every time they put him out there, he's made plays.
Oh no, for sure, for a couple of games, yeah. But you're gonna, his legs are gonna get weaker, you know. For
See, you know what? You need to put your best players in the best positions. You know what I mean? And I just think, you know, he should be out in left field. I really do. I think that's another position that would straighten out that outfield.
Okay, and then who's your DH? I mean, that's fine. That's a good move. I mean, I'm not saying it's not. It'll help the numbers are there, but now you got a DH hole. You got a first base hole and a DH hole.
Well, you figure it out, just like you figured out that Otto Kemp is playing first base, you know, and they finally got smart enough to put Bohm back at third, his natural position. You know what I mean? You figure it out. There's players around that you can negotiate something. You know, I'm not saying you make all these changes at one time.
Right.
So,
well, yeah, you know, no,
you're not going to. But
also,
anyway,
you're always going to have holes. There is no perfect team.
Well,
there's no such thing as that. And I think every week when you guys talk, that's what you strive for. There is no perfect team. There wasn't a perfect team in the 08 when we won. There was a bottom of the lineup then. There were 48 then.
48.
Man, I'd love that 08 team, man. Every time I think about Worth in left field and Victorino in center field and
well, you tell me what holes were on that 08 team.
John, I'm just saying there was a bottom of the lineup then too. There were guys batting, and that's when the pitcher batted. There was guys at that lineup
and our pitchers back then are hitting better than the guys that are in the lineup now.
Oh, John, stop it. Dad, did he take his medication today?
It's a rainy day.
It's a rainy day. I'm miserable.
It's a rainy day. He's
like
miserable.
3 weeks.
Hey, I'll take Cole Hamels back any day. Cole Hamels at the plate.
Please, is what I've decided.
No, it's true though. But like, you can be. I am able to be pleased easily, but just give me a team that's going for it because you're not going anywhere right now. You know what this limit is for this team. It's maybe.
And who is out there, John? Who is out there that comes to this team and makes everything better?
Who's out there? I mean, you can go get, like your dad was saying, Felix Bautista. You know, there was rumors from a person in the media that said, you know, was throwing out trade rumors type of things. But at least he's somebody in baseball, not a knucklehead like myself. Said Cedric Mullins and Felix Bautista for Mick Abel from the Baltimore Orioles.
Those two, who Jason Stark throw that trade out?
No, it wasn't Jason Stark. It was like something Mason, I think his name was.
That's a hell of a trade for Baltimore to give up. But you know, Mullins is having a so-so year.
He is, but he's a free agent at the end of the year. So
right.
It's good. It's a good thing for the Phillies because then you don't have to rush up Crawford. You give.
Well, if you're giving Mick Abel away, you better be re-signing Ranger Suarez.
Well, that's the thing.
You know, there's a lot of moving parts there. So,
oh no, of course, you got then you sign him, but
we got next
hold
week,
there.
and we're going to play general manager again next week. Hopefully, Lauren will be on time. We get a full show.
You're going to hear the same thing from Anthony that you heard from me tonight. So,
oh, I know, because he's used to losing. We're not used to it.
And just tell him if the Pirates would win 4 extra games a month, they would be a playoff team.
Yeah, but
go out there every night with the hope of winning.
No, but I'm saying
sit on this show and act like they go out there every night hoping they lose.
No, nobody's saying that. But that's why we get so frustrated. Is it's that small of a minute issue especially for the Phillies. They need one extra win a month. One extra win a month. They just blew a game yesterday because of the bullpen. They lost 3 games out in Pittsburgh that you guys were at because of the bullpen. Like those, all you need is one extra win a month, and it's a totally different scenario of your season. And that's more of an issue for the whole baseball. Like for the Pirates to win 4 more games a month, they guys just spend a little bit of money.
All right, Johnny, you used up your rant.
All right.
We gotta move on. Lauren, what do you got? You got a Lawrence layup this week?
My Lawrence layup was going to be about Bryce. How do you guys feel about him at this point in time? At this point in his career, in his season, how does everyone feel about him?
Well, you're probably talking to the wrong guy here, because I feel like he's fallen under the same scope as Joel Embiid, because he gets hurt, he gets banged up. The older he gets, the longer it takes for him to heal. And I need production. I need production out of a $300 million player.
Yeah.
And as it is right now, you got Kyle Schwarber making 1/3 of the money, and he's the guy who's hitting bombs every night. And you're going to let him walk? You're going to let him just walk away and get nothing? No, you're right, Tom. Bryce's best days are probably behind him. I don't know. And you know what really you want to know what pisses me off?
Yeah.
That he's not on the road trip with his team this week in Miami. He's home.
Because he's not a team player.
He stayed home.
He's not a team player.
That's what pisses me off.
He wasn't in Pittsburgh either.
You know what? I hope John Middleton is happy, because I'm not. I am not happy.
So,
what do you got, Johnny?
For me, he's not doing everything he needed to do as we thought he was becoming here. And I also think, though, that as I said it back then, too, that it was a bad move bringing him here a little bit. And just because the Phillies weren't in that position.
Well, Johnny, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but I don't know if you remember, you and I had several conversations. You figured out a bunch of players that they could have signed for that same $300 million. Well,
that was my point. Like, as far as you could have done more things, and it kind of falls back to me on the Phillies organization, because as a whole, because if you're going to do that leap and get a guy like a Bryce Harper, you got to go all in, and not just I'm spending a lot of money, but going only so far. You have to go all in, and that would have meant buying all the players you needed to buy because you had no farm system, because you let Matt Klintak destroy this team, and we're still suffering from it. And then had the farm system actually build up these guys, which Dombrowski's done so far. We got some prospects there. Crawford, Aiden Miller, Painter, Abel, Rinconis. He drafted Kirkland. Picked up Otto Kemp and stuff. There's prospects that are finally in our system. But you had to go ahead and go get those guys. And,
Ooh, Trout syndrome. I like that.
You had to go all in as a team. and they didn't. They only went so far. And, I think Bryce gets, pitched around a lot differently because he doesn't have protection around him, and it's not an excuse. It's just reality.
I don't know. He's in the 2-hole most nights, the 3-hole. He's at the top of that lineup, and that's where all the offensive players are.
Well, I mean, this year it's a little bit different because he did have Schwarber behind him. But I mean, prior to this, he didn't have, a guy that teams feared more so than Bryce Harper.
You don't think they fear Ohtani or Judge more?
No. I'm talking just the Phillies lineup.
Oh, I was going to say, don't you think those guys get pitched too differently? They don't seem to be bothered by it.
Well, they do, but they got Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman behind them as well. So it's a different scenario.
Right, and we have T-ball players. I forgot.
Well, we do that are behind them behind Bryce Harper.
I must watch a different team than you, Johnny.
That Marsh trade is still haunting me.
Well, that is, but I mean
that Marsh for a Hoppy trade is still haunting me. That trade will haunt me forever.
Oh, it will. I mean,
I often think about, what goes through John Middleton's mind, when he's watching Bryce Harper, and then he gets hurt, and then he gets hurt again. I mean, he got hit on his elbow, and then the wrist injury surfaced, and nobody even knew about this wrist injury from last year until this year. They hid it from everybody.
Yeah.
So,
but there's definitely fault for Harper as well, for sure. But it's just like
what is your interesting point?
Well, they did because they took that money and bought the players that they needed to.
Well, they had decent.
They had some players as well, but they also filled the rest of the holes and got the guys that they needed.
Yeah.
So I mean, it is. I mean, it's.
Does everybody remember the dugout fight between Papelbon and Harper in the dugout?
Yeah.
Talk about talk about a pampered little baby.
Which one? Both of them?
No, Harper
at the time.
Oh.
Yeah, no, I mean,
I don't think Papelbon, attacked him for no reason, but.
Well, he didn't hustle out the ball.
And then that's been another lagging injury, problem that has hampered this team because Harper does it, then Bone gets in a case of the lazies. You know what I mean? And he's like, well, if he can do it, I can do it.
Oh well, yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, it's definitely.
All right. All right. Did the Mets? I didn't even check. Did the Mets win last night? Where are we sitting?
2 games back.
2 games. So that's what
we got a lot of holes.
The Mets come to town this weekend. This is going to be a fun weekend at the bank.
Again, we're talking about a lot of holes compared to playoff teams. We're not talking about a lot of holes to the Pirates.
I understand that. And the Pirates don't always need to be our punching bag either. I'm just saying that against the Marlins, against other shitty teams, but it's not just about that though. We're still considered an elite team with a pretty good lineup, is what I'm saying at the end.
No, it is a good lineup on most nights.
We know that.
It is a good lineup. Yeah.
For that last hour, John, all I heard was how they're basically T-ball players.
Well, some nights. Did you see Rojas the other night? He got a first hit, and I don't know, what was it, 6 months? And he tried to turn a single into a double, and he got thrown out at second base. Just
and Alec Boehm gets a double, and Nick Castellanos comes up to bat, swings at the first pitch, and hits into a double play. I mean, it's baseball. It's 162 games for a reason.
What a great show! What a great show!
Yeah.
What a great show. We should all be general managers.
I don't want to be a general manager. I just want to be a normal fan. The two of you seem to want to be general managers as if you played the game for 40 years.
I'd love
and
to
know how hard it is.
I'd love to be a general manager. I can find somebody better than Rojas. I know that.
That's the whole thing. It's just we know that they're a good team. But when you're comparing it to another playoff team, they got holes, and that's why they struggle against the
And
better.
who are you comparing it to? The Dodgers, who are spending way over the salary cap?
The Mets kick our ass every time that they play us.
Okay, and they're
You-
two
you got-
games ahead of you.
Well, I know, but they beat us, when we play them. So this weekend.
Is that who it is? Is that the gauge? The Mets? Is that who we're battling against?
It's all the playoff teams. It's like the Diamondbacks beat us. You got the Padres that are a decent team, which we've beaten in the playoffs.
You went to Pittsburgh last weekend and got smacked around like rag dolls.
Right, because it's a long season and it's a roller coaster and
Yep.
shit happens. And then the Blue Jays came to town and they look like a completely different team.
Amazing, isn't it? It's
Right.
amazing. It's amazing. All right. What else we got? We're running out of time. We ran out of time.
I think we're good. We're
We're
good.
good.
It's done.
We're going to the World Series. We're all getting our flags and getting tattooed. Right now, the 2025 Phillies World Series champions.
Hey, I got one.
I never said that.
I got one last thing to throw out there. Did anybody see the tattoo that the girl got of Jason Kelsey?
That was a woman that got.
Yeah, her name was Lauren, and she was a New York Giants fan. Her boyfriend is an Eagles fan. She lost the bet, obviously, and it was to get a Jason Kelsey tattoo. I mean, it's the craziest thing ever. Well,
I think I would just have to be made fun of for the rest of my life because I would never live up to that bet.
Well, I watched the New Heights podcast today, and they had obviously Jason and Travis on, and they had their father on. And
Right.
He's where the craziness comes when you hear the dad. Well,
Oh,
anyway,
absolutely.
they're talking to dad about.
Did you see the tattoo?
Yeah, it's you got to get closer, Johnny.
Closer.
Yeah, there you go. See it?
No, absolutely not.
Well,
I didn't even know that was a woman.
We're trying to keep it as parent approved as possible. The eagle head covers up his man parts.
Yes.
Swoop's head.
But Jason Kelsey was proud of it. He goes,
"Oh yeah, you had to hear. You got to go back and you got it. You want to laugh for an hour? It's the funniest thing ever."
Yeah. Yep.
And it was not Kylie approved, so I won't give away any more secrets on it.
Yeah. I thought it was a guy. I didn't even know it was a woman.
Yeah, it was a girl. Like I said.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was she lost the bet and she honored it, and yeah, it was fun. It was fun. So, all right,
I got some ants to kill.
Lauren, thanks for joining us.
Mm-hmm.
Always love you when you're on the show. Hopefully, we have a full crew next week so we can continue this conversation.
Yeah, but we'll have better talk next week.
Better
Better talk.
Better.
No. Here it goes, Johnny. We're gonna sweep out the Mets this weekend.
Exactly.
We're gonna sweep out the Mets, and we're gonna be in first place.
That still won't be enough for him, Dad.
Oh, it'll be enough for me.
Oh, yeah, it'll be enough.
I go toe to toe with them all day, every day. So it's all good.
Yeah.
It's all good. It's all good.
Yeah.
All right.
At the end of the day,
the Marlins just hit a home run. There goes a hole.
No. Oh no.
Oh no, there's a hole. Dan, you Ranger.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if we're stuck when we get to our bullpen. That's the major hole of our team.
All right, let me make a list. Let me see. Holes, not Ranger. Got it. Okay. Let's start tracking.
Guys and gals, thank you for joining the show tonight. It was another memorable one.
Yes.
Lauren, for digging in and getting to us. We appreciate it. Thank you. John, thank you.
Yep, absolutely.
Let's go Phillies.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Let's go Phillies. All right, everybody. Have a great night.
You too.
Thank you.
Bye.